All right. I thought this might be a better idea for the senior class as opposed to a Zoom so that you can watch this at any time. I'll try to go as fast as I can, but try to cover the stuff I think is most important for the test. First thing, remember you can take the practice test twice. So you could have start that as soon as you want today on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can take it a couple times before you take the real test. The real test is 50 questions. You're able to use your book and the PowerPoint. Both of them should be on the Google Classroom and should be able for you to use. So we'll go as quickly as we can through the PowerPoint to help you, and then I'm going to talk a little about the end, apart for the textbook, what you need to look for. The first whole chapter is chapter 6. It's all about consumer behavior and the psychology that marketers use to make you buy things, and how consumer behavior is a big thing. One of the biggest things is culture. And if you remember, culture is what's handed down from one generation to the next, and how important that is in all different cultures throughout the entire world. Big talking point in this chapter was about the population mix here in the United States as we continue to grow with more Hispanic and Asian and African American populations from coast to coast. And if you read the chapter or flip through the PowerPoint, you can see the percentages. Family is like the most important part of marketing, and how some determinants on what you buy is because your family has bought it before. And then this is a big point right here, is the Ash phenomenon right here. That is the part that you want to make sure, where if you're in a group and you may not agree with the group, but you go along with it, that is that phenomenon. And that, I know we talked about prior to us leaving, was going to probably show up on the test and quiz, and I imagine it will. The next couple flips are about reference classes and social classes and reference groups and what you belong to. That is stuff we've went over before, and I think most of you would be okay on that. Trendsetters and information. We talked about influencers on Twitter and Instagram and how important they are in the marketing world. We talked about this section, atomic roles, when most decisions are made equally. Okay, so, and I'm going to highlight this at the end, the page number for this section on the husband-dominated role, wife-dominated role, and so that you're able to distinguish between those for the quiz. The next is needs and motives, and then we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs last year, and again, it shows up in chapter 6. That gets us through here to attitudes and how people's attitudes affect how they perceive products that are marketed to them. I think that probably will show up on the quiz in at least one question in some form. And then learning, that also will show up probably for one question on how important it is, like the reinforcement the learning process. All of us go through the learning process, and it's all based on the behavior. And when you buy things, it's the same idea. If you like it, you keep going back because of some reason, like it's a good product, it's quality, you like the customer service. And then goes into self-concept. I'll highlight this part again right here, also on the pages when I go over the pages, but how you influence yourself. And it talks about real self, your self-image, looking glass, and what's your ideal self. And all of that is we talked about prior to us leaving, but that will probably for sure show up as a question 1 or 2 on the test, and how you perceive yourself is different than how other people perceive you. And that's something that we'll actually go over at the very end on the page numbers if you want to go back and look at that. The decision-making process, you have to always know the order. First thing is you have to recognize there's a problem, and then you search and you find alternatives, and you go through this whole process right here, and that is the decision-making process that we've covered for over 2 years now. So there's big, high involvement decisions, and then lower involvement purchasing decisions. Low involvement, it's just piece of cake. Like when you go out to lunch from school, like it's easy for you to figure out. Now, high involvement would be possibly like you're buying a car, you're going to college. Those are obviously bigger decisions for you to make. Then talks about problem solving and then marketers. That wraps up chapter 6. I'll try to go a little quicker here for chapter 7. Chapter 7 is all about B2B marketing. That is very important in the aspect of like how is a product going to get from business to business as opposed to consumer marketing. And that's covered in these little tables here in this chapter really do help out a lot. If you flip through them prior to the test, you'll probably be way ahead of the game. And the next couple slides are all about what influences the business to business environment, organization, and interpersonal. All of that is pretty important in the business to business marketing. And then we go through here and there's resellers and commercial market, pretty common terms for you. And then we know that the federal government is one of the biggest purchasers of business to business items from one another. So, and we go through here and how the markets are broken down. They're broken down by demographics, by customer type, by the end use, and then lastly is the purchasing categories. And those are how marketers are able to figure out who to target when they're trying to market one of their items to some group. And then it goes through the business to business part here, and then global sourcing, and we'll scroll through a little bit. This part will, I'm sure, show up offshoring, nearshoring, outsourcing, and we've talked about them last year in class, and then I'm sure in international business you've talked about them as well. So this is just like a little review for outsourcing, nearshoring, offshoring for you. Other things that influence decisions, just like it was in chapter 6, interpersonal influences, environment, your organization, right? And then again, with the stages of the buying process here, the 8 stages, and they show up right here. I'll also highlight them here in a little bit at the end in the page numbers for you. And then buying items is like, do you straight rebuy the item? Do you change your order? Do you order something new? All that kind of stuff. All right. Buying center. There's when you're the B2B, when they're buying, there's different roles, and the roles are indicated here in the users, gatekeepers, influencers, and deciders and buyers. I will highlight that also in the textbook here in a second for you to look at. But most of us, we've talked a little bit about these over the course of the year and a half that we've had business class. So this should, for most of you, make sense. And I would flip through it one time in the textbook just as a quick review for you, and you should be pretty good, I think, on that. As we scroll through here, remanufacturing is something that when they take old products, and they do this in international markets mainly, if it's not, takes older products and makes them look new so that they can sell them. And that's called remanufacturing, and it's pretty common that we do that in other countries. And other countries then buy the product because they feel it's better than anything that they currently have. As we get into chapter 8, chapter 8 is all about global marketing. This really lines up with international business class. So this part should be pretty straightforward. It will talk a little bit about free trade. And right here, as we talk about like GATT and WTO and NAFTA and the EU and that sort of thing, these are more in depth also in the textbook, but most of you know what each one of these stands for. So this part, if it showed up on the quiz, I think you should be pretty good. And why do people want to go global? Why do they want to be multinational, like a Google or a GE, so that they can get their name out and that their whole business now is global? And here it talks more about global marketing. And right here, like what's a multinational corporation? Okay, they have huge operations outside of the country. So that's a pretty important part. Global marketing strategy, which you've seen before. And then what we talked about in the marketing project that you guys just did with straight extension and product adaptation. And that's something that you see all the time now in any, like, is it the exact same product? Or are they going to make a slight little change? And that's what they do here within the global marketing. And we scroll through the rest of the PowerPoint for this chapter, and you're pretty much, I feel you guys should be pretty good on this one. And then we get into the next one, market segmentation and target market, which we've just been working on the target market as you guys were preparing for where would you like to end up. And I think most of you know what a target market is and what your market is. This chapter, I think, is pretty straightforward. Again, it comes down to this section is geographics, where certain areas you live, and demographics, all right, the age group, male, female, all right, psychographic, and then product related segmentation also is how markets are broken down so that they figure out how to market a product to you. Then again, it comes down to geographics. If it comes down to like a certain statistical area, like if you're only looking at the top 10 population cities in the country, then you're not going to look at Dayton. You're going to look at the top 10 in the country. So maybe you're only going to use the data from there. So that would be called CMSA, and these are all the abbreviations for that. More demographic segmentation. Here's the age and gender by age, and the millennials. All right, which is also Generation Next. All right, that's something you've heard about, the 9/11 generation. So that's baby boomers, that sort of thing. The family life cycle is how the family is formed, and then how it dissolutions at the end. It goes through like boomerangs are people that have went to college, came back, and now living back with their parents after they went away for a while. And those are called boomerangs. Let's scroll through a little bit more. I think most of the rest. Psychographic is like your values, how we all value different things, and trying to figure out how to market to those people that value the same items that you do. Product related as the benefits that you see in a certain product. And differentiated marketing and concentrated marketing. I don't know and can't imagine that will show up, but if it is, it's right here in the PowerPoint. I'll get into all about data and how they will send you items, right? So what's big data? Big data is, all right, the world now is all about data. Some of you guys even talk about want to be in data analytics and the amount of jobs out there for that. And so this is what you would do in marketing research with data analytics. And as we scroll through here, you get what's like a syndicated surface. All right, what do you actually do? You give data to people that actually want to use the data for their research. And the whole chapter talks about like competitive intelligence and how you're trying to find information about your competitors, and trying to figure out what they do and how you can use it as an advantage, right? And talks about data mining, how to exploit the potential of any data information. And then another process laid out here in secondary data, like where does a lot of people get their data? It's all the census that we're taking part of here in 2020. Any government data is how a lot of people get all their data. Sampling and population universe is the whole group that a researcher would want to study is called a universe. And the sampling would just be taking small components out of that. And that goes through here like cluster sample, stratified sample, simple random sample. All these samples are things that could show up on the quiz, and just be aware what the differences of the three, right? Quota sample, also same thing, and convenience sample. Those are just people. Convenience, it's easy to do. It's right away. You can easily get the sample. And then quota, obviously, you're going to use a little bit larger group. There's other types, observation survey, and those are listed here as well. As we scroll through, we get to the last chapter, this customer relationship management chapter. And this, again, after you get through all the objectives, is how important it is for a marketer to try to maintain that relationship with you. The lifetime value of a customer is very essential in our marketing today for any business. And it comes down to here is like the 3 levels of marketing. Like the very first level is very low. Like they would try to get you in at a low cost. Like a lot of you guys talk about going to Wendy's, a lot of you guys talk about McDonald's, and they get you in at a very low cost. All right. And then as they try to get you in the door, they try to build that relationship and then move it up higher and higher. And then as they progress it, the price actually will go up. And then they try to make it so that they have a better advantage for you as you move forward. You have to understand consumers' needs. Down here at the bottom, it talks about affinity marketing and frequency marketing. This is your Speedy Rewards, Kroger Plus members, any place now that has the Cane's Rewards and Chick-fil-A and all of that. That's how they keep you coming back. And I feel like we talk about this all the time in class. We're always talking about food and the things that they offer to get you guys to keep coming back. Then how do they use you guys? And that's all down here is like buzz marketing, viral marketing, grassroots marketing. It's how you guys tell them about your experiences, or you tell them about it on the social media, and the businesses thrive on that. And also on the flip side, could be very damaging, and we've talked about that as well. And we scroll through here, and it talks about like how important it is, like who has the best customer retention. You can see at the top here, Hyundai, Ford, and Honda, the top three, along with BMW and Kia. All right, and then how do they win you back? It's really hard to, once you lose somebody, it's hard to win them back, and that's what sometimes the customer relationship management takes a lot for you to try to work to win back a customer. Right. Co-branding and co-marketing we've talked about before. Vendor managed inventory we've talked about before. Supply chain, how products are delivered, and like right now there's always the concern of with the coronavirus going around, will the supply chains be affected? So that's something you've heard about in the news. And lifetime value of a customer, we've talked a lot about that. And then right here at the very last couple slides, I think it's like the last 3 slides are going to have, I bet, anywhere between 3 and 5 questions in the quiz. Qualitative and quantitative forecasting and how to use those, and talks about, as we scroll through here, the benefits of different forecasting techniques. Qualitative ones first, and then quantitative ones here at the end. And those 3 slides I think will be very beneficial to you. Now that's done. So I would like to tell you this, like for the PowerPoint, it's going to say chapters 6 to 11. In the textbook, because it's the older version, it's chapters 5 through 10. It's the same textbook. It's just 1 year before they made the newer edition, but it does not change what's in the textbook. Some of the pages that we're going to go over, I'll list in the Google Classroom, but it's like page 147, page 156, 187, 191, 213 to 217, page 251, 301, 314 to 316, and 328. Those pages will help you immensely on the quiz, and I'll write them up here in a second. If you guys have any other questions, just email me, and I'll get them back to you. I'll open the quiz. And again, the practice quiz is open now, but I'll open the quiz probably is around noon tomorrow. So if you want to take it Wednesday night after you study, I would just flip through the pages that I'm going to list, and I think most of you will do great. I appreciate you watching this. Hopefully it helps you. I know I don't have a cool background like some of you guys have in your Zoom accounts. Claire, that's a really nice background you had. And I hope everybody's doing well. Hope you guys get outside a little bit, walk around, enjoy your time with your family. All right. If you need anything, let me know. Thanks.